Welcome back to another episode of the Firm on Foundation podcast. I am your host, Iconic. Joining us today is my girl, a very special guest and friend, Kweli Curenton.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling real good. Real
Good,
good.
good. Now, let me give y'all a little bit of a backstory. Kweli, we have known each other for like
Mm.
15 years,
Yeah, I
I
would say.
believe.
Yeah.
Quaylee
Yeah.
is not only my friend, we actually met. She's my hairstylist. She recently cut,
Yeah.
colored, styles my hair. She's amazing.
Oh.
Um, something I realize about Quaylee is not only is she a hairstylist and just a great woman, she's a very spiritual woman, and we have great talks all the time. Her shop, and when you sit in her chair, that's her ministry. Like that is your ministry.
Yeah.
I've always realized that, and I know I've said that to you to some capacity before, and I've always appreciated it. We're Libra gang all
Mm-hmm.
day. Our
Mm-hmm.
birthdays are really close, so
Absolutely.
a lot of
Yeah.
similar thoughts and viewpoints and great conversations. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much for being here.
Thank
I'm happy
you.
that you could come.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to start with our icebreaker. It's called rapid fire. So, first thing that comes top of mind when I ask you the question,
Okay.
that's how we'll play this, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go. So, how would you identify yourself in just 3 words?
Oh. Hmm. Spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
kind, positive.
I agree with all of those. How do you see yourself?
mm. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
question.
Yeah,
um, Probably all of those things. The
sure.
only thing I probably would pull back on is spiritual.
Okay.
Sometimes I am more amazed at the things that come out my mouth than what I think I'm capable of saying.
Ooh, yeah,
So yeah, I probably would pull back on that, but I love people, so I'm always kind, always positive.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, before I go to the next question, I want to ask you, this is kind of like off script, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see me since you've known me so long?
Ooh, go getter.
Mm,
Um, Definitely spiritual.
yeah.
Definitely in tune.
Mm,
And I would say pretty well rounded. I think people
thank you.
like you and you're very stylish and,
Thank you.
outgoing. So,
I try.
yeah, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
I think it's important to have people in your community who don't just vouch for you or celebrate you. Those are important, but who can maybe affirm or validate some things within you. I think
Absolutely.
we need to hear it because how we lead our lives and our identity,
Hmm.
we want to be impactful. So if you said, "Oh, I think you're this and this," if I didn't agree with those things, I'm like, "But I thought I was this. Maybe I need to adjust or
Hmm.
modify some things, not change who I am." But if I'm being perceived a certain way, maybe hearing from someone who has known you for so long will kind of just make you maybe reevaluate some areas. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you for doing that.
Welcome.
Okay, so this one, Jesus, we could have a whole podcast episode on this. Why are there so many followers but few leaders and wave makers?
Hmm. Well, in my
Mhm.
opinion, I think it's because it's easier to follow a plan already mapped out
Sure.
than it is to be a trendsetter.
Okay. Jesus?
It's either you want to be lazy or you want to put in the work.
Take the easy route. It's easy
Right.
to emulate somebody else. It's
Absolutely.
hard to be
Yeah.
authentic and genuine and to stand out and
Mhm.
not follow the wave
Yeah.
because people are going to be like, who do they think they are? Why aren't they acting, talking, dressing, moving like us?
Mhm. I think too because it is difficult to
Mm,
oh man, it's difficult to create a thing because it
mm,
can seem overwhelming.
for sure.
And if you think anything like us, we overthink. And then
Yes.
we can typically think ourselves out of it
Hmm.
because maybe we don't have enough people to make it work
Hmm.
or we don't know where to start. And so um, it's easier just to connect to somebody else's dream or vision
Absolutely.
and help them make that come to fruition.
It is. And you said something there. It's easy to connect to someone else's vision, to what
Mhm.
someone else is doing. But what about yourself? That's why we have not a lot of leaders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Um okay. This one, this is good. What is a pivotal event or moment that changed you in your life? It can be anything, any area.
Hmm. Pivotal moment.
Mhm.
Let's come back to that
Okay, I
because
was glad I can start with
I don't know.
mine.
Yeah, start with yours.
Okay. So for me, as you know, becoming a mother,
Mhm.
not just becoming a mother and finding out I was pregnant, the traumatic delivery and that process of what I went through to get my daughter and bring my daughter into the world.
Mhm.
It was, and I went through this on another episode, um, understanding the power that you carry. That's what it did for me.
Mhm.
It was very difficult to say the least. I had some different complications going on.
Mhm.
I was already like 41 weeks. I pushed for nearly 3. I was in labor for like 24 hours and my daughter got stuck and that opened up a whole other can of worms and I almost lost my life.
Yeah.
They told me, they being the hospital staff, told me in those situations, the amount of stress and trauma. I mean, my blood pressure was spiking super high.
Yeah.
I was at risk, very high risk.
Mhm.
I had an oxygen mask on. I was blacking out, going in and out of consciousness. And, as much as I don't like to think about it, they looked me in the eye, the doctors and the midwives, and said, "You are so strong. You are such a strong pusher."
Mhm.
And they looked right at me after I'm sitting there holding my beautiful baby girl and said, "Sweetie, we're not trying to scare you, but we want to be honest. What you just went through, not a lot of people make it.
Wow.
Either the mother doesn't make it, the child
Mhm.
doesn't make it, or both.
Mhm.
It's such a blessing because we both made it." Um, so for me, sometimes I ask why.
Yeah.
Why having my first child did I have to go through that much stress and trauma and pain? Why does that memory have to be linked to my beautiful daughter and bringing her into this world? But over time, as I prayed about it
Mhm.
and I talked to God about it, um, He was showing me what I'm made of, my
Absolutely.
capacity, and not
Yep.
only mine, but my daughter's.
Yes.
So we talk about this all the time. If my daughter's having a tough day, and she's only 9, but she's extremely smart, she knows what happened. Not all of the details, but she knows we had a little bit of a difficult delivery. And I told her that because I want her to know in those moments when maybe she feels weak,
Mhm.
she feels something's making her feel inferior. She maybe needs some encouragement. I want her to remember who you are. Look at what you've been through.
Mhm.
Be brave. You're brave. You're strong.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the conclusion, if you will, of what I learned from that experience because I prayed a lot about it. And the clarity that the Lord gave me was, you are so strong,
Mhm.
stronger than you think. So for me, if I can get through that,
Mhm.
I can get through anything.
Absolutely. I I would piggyback on that
Mm,
and say maybe a pivotal moment was when I lost my dad.
mm,
And not completely understanding, my dad was definitely one of the healthiest people I
right.
know. Um, Worked out every day,
Yeah.
never missed a day, had chia seeds and health
Very
drinks, and
healthy. Yeah.
just very healthy
Yeah.
person. And was diagnosed with brain cancer in February and was gone by May
Hmm.
and of the same year. And
Jesus.
one of the last things that he said to me though was stay strong. And why that resonates with me is
Mm.
because I do believe that is a part of who I am,
Mhm.
is strength.
Mhm.
Um there's so many things that I've been through in life.
Mhm.
So many things I've had to overcome.
Right.
Um, and a lot of times very quickly.
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
but for whatever reason, that strength is always there.
That's right.
And not that you don't cry and not that you don't have, sad emotions or whatever behind whatever's going on.
Mhm.
It's still very important to remember where your strength lies
Absolutely.
and always rise above it to keep going forward.
Because you have what it takes within you to rise above it.
Absolutely. Yep.
You are equipped.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
have tenacity. You have that strength. Um, Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
You know,
Yeah.
I can relate to that with losing my father. And what other choice do we have but to be strong?
Right.
Okay. And really, right? We want to be in our feelings and say, but I don't want to be strong today.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I can't ever see my dad again. So I feel like I'm never going to be as strong.
Right. Yeah.
But I am, you are, and we will. We are living
Mhm.
it. Right now we're being strong.
Yeah.
Continuing to press forward and honor their memory and their legacy and to celebrate them
Yes.
um to the best of our ability.
Mhm.
That is a choice.
I would also say that I relied on my dad as my strength.
That's ooh, Jesus.
And so for
Same.
him to say, stay strong,
That's right.
that meant it was already in me. And he
Mm,
definitely deposited something
yeah.
within me for me to then carry on.
Felt that. Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, that was the absolute perfect segue into what we are going to be continuing to talk about. So, when I was planning this episode, the word identity kept coming up. Identity, identity. What you just said was your identity is strength.
Hmm.
In fact, your father passed that, placed that seed within you that that's who you are. I'm sure you felt it. I'm sure
Hmm.
you said it. But in that moment, maybe it came full circle. Um, so when we think about identity, there's obviously so much going on in the world where people don't know who they are.
Hmm.
People are trying to figure it out, and people are trying to be other people instead of being themselves. That's a problem.
That's facts.
So here's what I was thinking about. People are lost, and instead of doing the work to try and figure out who they are, it's easier to shapeshift and become other people.
Yes.
But what does that really do, even when we talk about legacy? Like, what is your name? Like, when you think of your name, you should be proud of your name. What does it say about you? If I'm out here trying to act like you or the next person, where's the honor in that? Where's the legacy in that? People won't really understand who I am
Hmm.
because I'm just copying somebody else. So, with that, this is why not only do we have a lot of followers, but we don't have a lot of great representatives and people who know who they are. Being a woman of God and believing in Jesus Christ, I am a representative. Now, obviously, when people say that, there's this can of worms open. We don't even need to say the word perfection
Right.
because God already knows that we're not.
Right.
But to be a representative, it makes you conscious of how you move in your life.
It should.
I am his representative.
Hmm.
He already knows all the mistakes I'm going to make. He already knows all the great things I'm going to do. He already knows the secrets and my insecurities and all of these things. So, in your life, this is what I thought of. Are you a representative or are you living at random? Nobody is meant to be random. God created all of us to be special. So, for me, it forces us to be accountable for our potential and how we should be moving out here, what we should be doing, being great parents, being great leaders, helping people in the community, being good to our family,
Hmm.
but most importantly, being good to ourselves. Because if we don't, we can't be good to anybody else if we're not our best.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I would say, from your perspective, if people don't get anything from this episode, what I would want them to focus on is It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you do or what you have done. You are not random. You are a representative of something. So we talked about this before about where you come from. What's your name?
Mhm.
If somebody asks you, what's your name? How does that make you feel? How would you respond to that?
Well, I would just say my name.
Yeah.
But if they then said, "Oh, well, where's that from? And what does
Yeah.
that mean?" And
Yeah.
well, Kweli means truth,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
and it's Swahili. And then
Right.
usually they'll ask, "Oh, what is your does your family speak
True.
Swahili? Are you from No, and no."
Mm.
But it was
Right.
something my mom liked, and she loved the meaning, and she figured that would be who I was. I would
Mm-hmm.
walk in truth. Um,
Mm.
so that's what it would mean to me. If someone asks me,
Yeah.
"What's your name?" and that's usually the rabbit hole we go down,
Yeah.
and I do my best to try to walk in my truth.
You made me think of something too. Have you ever not seen somebody for a while or they said their name once, but then you run back into them and it's like, what's your name again?
Absolutely, all the time.
All the time, right? I know. And look, here's a trick. I'm about to expose myself. I forget people's name often,
Yeah.
like sometimes seconds after I meet them, because probably there's always a lot of things going through my
Mhm.
mind
Mhm.
and I kind of forget. Now, here's a secret. When that happens, you can say, if you're on your phone, storing them in your phone, or if you're somewhere where you're writing stuff, spell your name for me again.
Yep.
I do it all the time. I just expose myself, but I'm like,
Yes.
I have to. And sometimes it's simple. They're like Samantha Brown or something I should have remembered,
Yeah.
but I just forget. So I'm like, spell your, especially, and sometimes I remember the first but not the last. And I'm writing something down, let's say at work, and I'm like, spell your last name for me again. And they're like, it's something easy and simple.
Davis.
Yeah, Davis. I'm like, thank you. I thought so.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know. Sorry. You know.
Yeah, I'll usually say, put it in my phone so I have it spelled
Yes, put
correctly.
it in my phone. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
smart. That's smart.
Yeah.
I'll text it to you.
Mhm.
So when you think about the name you're born with and are you wearing your name well? For me, I'm very proud of my name. I am. I'm proud to be a Qualls. My name has a lot of significance.
Mhm.
Alana means to soar like an eagle.
Mhm.
It's actually Hawaiian. And Qualls goes back to my dad's roots
Mhm.
in Vrynburg, Alabama, which is where he's from. Um, so for me, it just calls like this responsibility to wear it proud,
Mhm.
especially since now my father's no longer living. Um, I have to be even more conscious of how I'm representing him and everybody that came before my dad
Yes.
for Qualls. Not only that, my mother as well.
Mm.
Because when she married my dad, she became a Qualls. And although they got divorced, that is in her name.
Yes.
So I want to and aim to represent my parents well, and represent myself well.
Mhm.
So when people make choices, negative, positive choices, they have good and bad influences. How do you think a negative influence can affect how proudly someone wears their name
Mm.
or negative experience?
Well, because some of society shapes who we are,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to
Right.
walk around proud of something that has so many mistakes
Mm.
on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, on it.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
If someone created a artwork for you to wear
Mm.
and you thought it was beautiful, but someone else said it's ripped right there. It has a stain right there. Why do you wear that? And the tag is missing,
Because it's
or who
supposed to be
even
like
made
that.
that? Right? But if what people's opinions are matter to you, then you
Right.
may not ever wear that again.
Mm.
It's kind of like the name, right? There's so many things that everyone goes through in life. There are always going to be mistakes and always going to be trip ups and hold
It's very
ups and
true.
all that, right?
Mhm.
But the opinion of others then makes it filthy or makes it something that you can grow from.
Mm.
Like if you made a mistake and I said, girl, it's nothing.
Right.
You know, everybody has done that. You're not the first, you won't be the last. We can rise above this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it moving, keep it pushing, right? That would make you proud to then wear that. But if I came and said, girl, that's nasty, and I don't even know why would you even do that? You know, then
Right.
you're kind of disgusted at what that is, and you
Mhm.
don't want to be associated with it. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you care about what people say,
Mhm.
um, then it won't feel
Mm.
good. You won't want to be proud about it. But if
Mhm.
you decide within yourself that you are going to create something new for that name,
Jesus.
because you
Mhm.
can't get rid of it, or it is a part of your lineage, it's a part of your story,
That's right.
right? If you can't get rid of that part of your story,
Mhm.
then you have to do something in your leg of the race to change the
Mm.
trajectory of that name.
Mm. So don't allow other people to mold your identity.
Exactly.
Don't let somebody tell you who you are.
Exactly.
Know who
Be-
you are. Be
yes.
proud or do the
Yeah.
work to figure out who you are.
Do the work to figure out who you are
Mhm.
and be true to that.
That's right. Key word is work.
Right.
It won't happen overnight.
No.
And sometimes it does take some negative experiences to truly understand I am capable of this. I am strong.
Yeah, you wouldn't know you were strong if you
Mhm.
never went through something that you thought you were weak in.
And if life was just easy all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Sounds good, but it's not going to happen. I'd rather have the some of the struggle sometime
Mhm.
because that's what allows you to get your wings. That's what allows you to evolve and figure out who you are and all of that with purpose.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our next point. Why are there so many people in an identity crisis? A lot of people are in an identity crisis.
Mm. What is at the core of that crisis?
Mm.
You know, what is it about? So,
Mhm.
when I think of identity crisis, I think of a constant shape shifting
Sure.
where oh, I like this right now, so I'm going to identify with that for
Mhm.
now, but something about that went haywire. I'm going to go over here and identify with this,
Mm.
right? What is at the core of that? Is um I don't know, is it trust? Is it um joy? You know, what feeling is it, or what thing is
Mm.
it that you identify with the most, or that you're looking for the most
Mhm.
in each one of those crowds? Because I think if
Jesus.
we took a step back and looked at the connector,
Mm.
there's
The
something there's
connector.
something there that is connected to you in each one of
Mm.
those sections, or those crowds of people, or because people identify now with animals.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
what about that animal makes you identify with them? What characteristic
Mhm.
of that animal makes you identify with them?
So through your crisis, how are you connected to the core of it?
How are you connected to the core?
Mhm. And
And
start
I
there.
think that would then help you to identify yourself.
Yes.
You can build
Jesus. It's
from
a
a
word.
foundation, and your foundation is your core.
Mm. Stay firm on your foundation. Mhm. That's good. That's really good.
Mhm.
I'm processing that as I speak. That was good. Now, part of that we're talking about an identity crisis and trying to get to the core and the root cause of what's going on why you're feeling that way. After devastation, after certain events happen, after things happen to you, after you don't get your way, and even when you do get your way,
Mhm.
how easily does that become your identity? But you have to be able to, let's say, when it comes to devastation, are you going to stay in that place of being devastated? What's your life going to look like if you allow that and allow people to see you like that? Do you feel comfortable with that being your identity?
I think so. The phrase "misery loves company."
Yes.
I think ultimately you find another group,
Mm,
right? If this group didn't do it, or this group hurt me, or
sure.
this group didn't accept me, eventually abandonment becomes your core, or abandonment becomes
Mm,
your identity.
mhm,
And so, You find a group that
Mm.
caters to people who've been abandoned.
Mhm.
And you just keep going down this rabbit hole of
Right.
like connecting yourself with other things
Jesus. Yeah.
instead of finding out who you are.
Mm.
Um,
Where are you connected? What are you connected
what are you
to?
connected to,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Go back to your source. What is your source? Where would you
Jesus.
get your energy from? Where
That's
would you
right.
what would you plug into to
That's
get
right.
your hope? It's not in all these other groups.
No.
It's got to be God,
That's right.
right? So
Jesus.
where do you need to get back to the source? Who made you?
That's right.
Who created you? Get back to that. Let that be what tells you who you are. That'll help you get out your
That's right.
crisis.
He's the truth.
Yeah.
He is us and we are them. So that's how you learn yourself. Go back. Sometimes you have to go not only go back to the foundation, the core, but less is more. Go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Undress all that stuff, whatever fancy titles you have, whatever salary you have, whatever friend group you have, whatever house you live in or don't live in, whatever has happened to you or hasn't happened yet. Take all that away. When you strip all that away,
Hmm.
go to the source and start there.
There are times in life
Mm.
where we have to get to a point where we come to the end of ourselves.
Mm.
And at the end of ourselves, that means you've tried everything on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You've exhausted all of your options,
Jesus.
maybe exhausted your finances,
Mm.
right? You've gotten to this place where
Mm.
there's nothing else that you can do to help you.
Right.
That is when you will find God.
Mm. Amen. That's right. And I hate that sometimes some view, and I say some because at one point I probably was there to an extent, because as you grow a closer relationship to God, at one point you did not always prioritize him. It's kind
Hmm.
of like you would went to him when you don't have any other options. Like, God, I need you to bail me out. Okay? I don't know what I'm doing.
Hmm.
While you're going through the process and when you're experiencing victories, why not also acknowledge him then? Not only when you need him. Thank you for allowing me to get here, because I remember yesterday was ugly. Now that language
Hmm.
has changed. It was much harder yesterday. But when it's a good day, sometimes when you have a good day, thank you, God, for allowing me to have a good day today, to feel at peace today, because
Hmm.
just a day, a week, a year ago, oh my gosh, my life was in shambles.
Hmm. I think it is harder to thank God when things are good.
Mm,
Um, and not that you mean not to thank
right,
him,
right,
but it's harder to acknowledge that it was him that did it a lot of times,
right.
because the things that we are using to get us
Mm,
to a better place seem as though they're our natural gifts,
sure.
or they're things that we've done in our own ability, not knowing that maybe God provided, or maybe God opened a door,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe he blocked an accident. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
it's harder to see because those things didn't happen. But
He's
what
always
we were
working.
capable of doing
Mm,
actually worked. But all in all, God is working and God is
that's right.
moving and he's doing. And so, um that's what makes it hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to find him when things are hard
Mm,
because you can't see you doing it.
that's right. That's right. That's good. So when we think about identity fraud,
Hmm.
we kind of already touched on this as far as people emulating other people, not
Hmm.
knowing who they are, and not doing the work to figure out who you are. If you don't know who you are today, some people don't. That's okay. Like I said, sometimes it takes experiences, good, bad, ugly, in between, to really figure out who you
Hmm.
are.
Hmm.
But one thing I will say from experience, once you know who you are and you feel that at your core, stand on it, follow through,
Hmm.
be consistent. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Don't allow another battle to come and be like, I said I was strong and that's my brand and my identity, but today my lights just got cut off and you know what? I ain't strong no more. I'm over it. No,
Hmm.
you're having challenges and it might feel unfair. You may be in a certain situation, but remember you're strong, because that's what's going to carry you through those moments and those tough times.
Yes.
Um, so when it comes to identity fraud, now let's transition into a little bit of what I was thinking with this, how people deceive you. Deception, dishonesty, it can be in friendships, It may be in relationships. Um, there's a lot of people who will show you what they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure enough and trust your instincts and your gut enough to know that they're trying to deceive you? Obviously, we've all probably been deceived at some point, but when you really know who you are and that intuition and that alarm goes off, are you going to trust it? Have you ever been in that predicament?
Definitely. Well, first let me say we've been deceived and we've all deceived,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
right?
Sure.
Anytime you get into a relationship, the very first part of that relationship is deception because you want
Mm.
them to see
Show you
you
all
a
the
certain
good
type of
and
way,
yeah. Yeah.
and they also want to be seen a certain type of way.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't until you've established this time frame
Right.
where you're actually seeing who they are.
Mm.
And it's in that moment that you
Mm-hmm.
really got to be solid in who you are, because
Jesus.
if you're not, it
Mm-hmm.
will get exposed.
That's right.
It will get exposed.
That's right.
Um, but I don't know if your discernment is strong enough, then maybe you will see it in the beginning. But
Mm.
I've not been in that spot.
Yeah, it's so true. And when we have successful relationships, failed relationships, or complicated relationships, it's easy for that moment to become your identity or to
Yes.
become how you view yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, he broke up with me. She broke up with me. I guess I'm not worthy of being loved or
Mm-hmm.
being in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie. It just means that your experience with that person has ended. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds so much simpler for us to say, but when we're going through it, it really hurts. It can be painful, but to be completely honest, it's like I think your identity is born at the death of something.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
It definitely is built upon
Mhm.
at the death of
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Now it's like, let's see what you're made of.
Mm.
How are you going to respond to this?
And self reflection is
Mhm.
definitely necessary,
Absolutely.
because from everything you can learn something.
Mhm. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Jesus. Now something that, and I've been very transparent about this before on here. Um, when I do the firm and free segment, I spoke on something I wanted to be free from were my feelings of inadequacy. It's something I struggle with almost my whole life. Even when I've made like big achievements, like educational work achievements, just life achievements, like done some things that are, pretty good or notable in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings of inadequacy as a woman that I can fully deliver and follow through on the purpose and calling that God has placed on my life.
Mm-hmm.
That I have what it takes. Well, he's already told me I have what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I questioning that? That's an internal thing and it's something that's between God and I, and it's something that I work through. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm being transparent on here, because I know I'm not the only one that feels like that.
Right.
And it's something that we talk about imposter syndrome a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes within our successes, it's like we feel imposter syndrome or we fear success.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I still can't break down and articulate and explain. I don't know why we fear success and have imposter syndrome when we already have proven that we
Yeah.
can accomplish something at a certain level. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So a lot of people struggle with that, but it's something that I feel once you do work through it, you become stronger. Your identity becomes more sealed. You're like, no, this is who I am. This is what I do. And you're
Mm-hmm.
not bragging about it. You're looking in the mirror and saying that to yourself to prove
Mm-hmm.
to you that you can handle what comes next.
Do you think that is fear of success, or do you think that it's fear of what comes next?
Mm. Ooh. Because it's a change and change is uncomfortable. So what comes
Mm-hmm.
next will make you uncomfortable.
Right, because it's like once you've succeeded in that which you are trying to obtain,
Mm-hmm.
then what? Do you have another plan? Is there another step?
This
Is
is
that
true.
next step bigger than, I mean, obviously it's bigger than the step you just did,
Right.
but what is it going to require of you? What kind of sacrifice are you going to have to make to get
Mm,
to the next after that
that's right.
success? For me, that's what it would be. It's not so much that I'm fearful of success, but once I get there, then what?
What am I going to have to let go of to surpass these limitations?
Sort of, but almost like for this success, I'm willing to sacrifice,
Okay.
right? But for the next, what else am I going to have to cut off?
Mm, mm-hmm.
Or what else am I going to have to
Let
take
go.
on? And am I going to be young enough, because that's where I'm at? Am I going to be young
Mm-hmm.
enough to handle, to have energy, to, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like someone once told me the years are going to go by anyway. So you
Mm,
might as well go after it.
right.
But the longer you think about it, the years are going to go by anyway.
That's right.
So do you go after it, or do you let the years going by put that fear on you to not
Mm.
even try it? But for me, it would be the success and then the next. Like,
What's next? Fear of
yeah,
what's next. Because
yep.
I already know what's now. I already know what was yesterday. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
Who is it going, excuse me, how is it going to stretch me?
Mm,
How am I going to have to grow? Am I
mm.
ready for that?
Am I ready for that? That's the real.
That's
Am I
right.
ready for that?
That's right.
Because I can see the plan for what's in
Mm-hmm.
front of me and what I think I might want to do.
Sure. Sure.
But I can't see the plan if that thing takes off.
Mm.
If that thing blows up,
Yeah.
then what?
But you're not supposed to. This is something that I can relate to. I'm a visionary.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, us Libras, we're big picture. We can see way down the road and we're at step one. We're ready to be at step seven.
Yes.
You can't always, right? You can't always begin with the end in mind. You can have your vision because it will manifest as long as you stay faithful and you take the appropriate steps and do the right things. But every part of the process is valuable. Every part of the process is critical.
Yes.
If I'm so focused on step seven and God has me on step two, what am I supposed to see or learn during step two? What roses am I supposed to smell on
Mm-hmm.
step two or three? I'm focused on seven.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy this moment.
Yes.
And if it's tough, endure through these things in this moment because those are preparing you to handle what's waiting for you in step seven.
You know how we see celebrities and you didn't see them before, but
Mm-hmm.
now you see them and they're like this big deal and they're millionaires already. And,
Mm-hmm.
you think that stuff happens overnight.
No.
And then after they've been in a few movies or sang a few songs or
Sure.
did a few concerts, a story comes out about them.
Yes.
And their small beginnings
Mm.
are written about. For me, it's hard for me to have the small beginnings. It's
Mm.
hard for me to see the small beginnings because I see the big picture.
That's right.
Um, but they're necessary. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you might need to learn something on level 1 or level
Mm-hmm.
5,
Mm-hmm.
and you're already at 7. It's hard to figure out how to start small.
It can be hard, but what something that I've realized is especially once I'm on the brink of something new or starting a new venture or I'm elevating in life or I can feel myself changing, I'm getting older, I go back.
Mhm.
I tend to go back even to when I was younger,
Mhm.
remembering who I am at the core. That's what helps me move forward. Because the further I go in life, I refuse to lose myself.
Mhm.
I refuse to be influenced by people waiting in at that next step,
Yeah.
at that next level. So it's like taking inventory. You got to take inventory of where
Mhm.
you've been.
Mhm.
So once you do get to the next step, the next level of life, you stay solid and rooted in who you are.
Mhm.
Now be open, right? There's nothing wrong with innovation and growth. Be open to that.
Mhm.
But if you don't stand if you don't stand for nothing, you're gonna fall for anything.
Absolutely.
So you knowing who you are and being unapologetic about some of your core values,
Mm.
that's standing for something.
Mhm.
Otherwise, You can be swayed this way, you can be deceived. All sorts of things can happen if you don't
Mhm.
sometimes go back, take inventory, reevaluate things that have happened, and also just celebrate the journey and how far you have come so
Absolutely.
you can enjoy it at the next level.
Also, because you said something about
Mhm.
taking inventory, those are the small
That's
beginnings.
right. That's right.
It might not be in the arena that you're thinking,
Mm,
but those are the small beginnings. You might
right.
have struggled with reading, right? But now you read like, I don't know,
Right.
some scholar, right?
Reading whole chapter books.
It's
Mm-hmm.
whole chapter, but you don't
It
even need
started
no
with picture books.
pictures,
We're at chapter books now. Jesus.
right?
Yeah.
but but yes, that is a small beginning.
Hmm.
And like you said, those need to be celebrated. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Ooh, I just felt this on my spirit. Jesus.
Mm.
You can celebrate the small beginnings, but as you elevate, don't mourn the past.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
That will ruin the celebration.
Definitely.
It's in the past for a reason.
Hmm.
You can remember some things
Hmm.
because there could be a couple things here or there that you learned about yourself and experienced or
Hmm.
witnessed
Hmm.
that could help you at the next level. But you have to celebrate as you move forward and grow and elevate,
Yeah.
not mourn and keep looking back and saying, well, why didn't this happen? Why did this? You can't mourn that because then you're going to lead yourself into destruction instead of elevation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
Ooh,
good.
Jesus. Okay. So, this is a really, really important thing as we're talking about identity, legacy.
Hmm.
Being proud of your name and the name you carry. What is your legacy?
Hmm.
Are you known to just be mean and bitter and never helping anybody? You're selfish. You don't take time to do anything for anybody outside of yourself. What does that say about you? Is that any sort of legacy? No. Now, does am I saying that you need to go around acting like a saint and give everybody all your money and all your time and all your energy? No, that's
No.
unrealistic because we do have priorities. We have to prioritize ourselves first. And if you have children, a family, you prioritize them and everyone and everything that's important to you.
Mm.
Sure. But it's really, really, really easy to live up to a name that's not yours, to walk a walk that's not supposed to be yours because something bad happened. So now you walk around bitter, you're at work
Mm.
gossiping, you're being rude all the time. But people are going to look back, right? People that knew you before the age you're at now, they're going to say, I remember when she was a little girl, teenager, she was the sweetest girl. Yeah, before life
Mm.
happened to her. So are you using that as an excuse? You are justifying the bad things that happen to you to
Mhm.
be your identity. You're still licking your wounds. Now, is that normal? Sure. We've all been there. We're still going through it. I'm sure all of us have different things that are going on, but what are you missing out on?
Mhm.
You're missing out on the good that's waiting because you're staying behind when you're supposed to move forward. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Definitely.
So, what are ways that if someone asks you about legacy, how can you make sure you live up to your name?
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, well,
Yeah.
first you have to know what legacy is for you.
Mm.
You know, and where you
That's
come
good.
from.
That's
You
good.
know, what is that legacy? And do you want to keep attaching yourself to it?
Mm.
You know?
I like that.
Um my legacy, I came from really strong men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my grandfather hunted and fished and had plenty of dogs. He had a garden. He did my grandmother's
Oh,
garden and his garden, and
right. Yeah.
he was from the South. So he canned and all kinds of stuff, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but he lived on very little
Mm.
because that's what he knew. I mean, he died with a lot, um, but he lived on very little, and it was okay.
That's right.
Um, my dad, very strong. I talked about him earlier. You know, very, very strong man.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't require a lot, didn't talk a lot,
Mm.
but when he did, he was very profound. Um,
Right.
He wasn't very affectionate. He was just just a very strong person.
Mhm.
My mom on her side, their family is very loving,
Mm.
so everybody hugs and, welcomes even strangers in as
Right.
family. And so are those two things something that I want to continue?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. So for me, what would I do? Continue to be loving and continue to be positive, be strong,
Mhm.
encourage people to
Right.
give their best in life, whatever that means,
Right.
to whatever capacity that is. Um, can't be measured by anybody except you. You know what your best
That's
is.
right.
So that would be how I would continue legacy. And I guess if for anyone out there who is questioning whether or not
Mm.
they should continue their legacy, see if it checks and balances with you.
Mm.
If you are okay within yourself with whatever happened in your family's past
Yeah.
to keep carrying on that
It's very
legacy,
true.
then do that. If you're not, then that's when you have to, make
Mhm.
something new.
Make some adjustments and
Make something new.
start a new wave.
Hmm.
Build your own legacy.
Absolutely. I know
Mhm.
someone who, personally, who did not want to connect with either of their names.
Mhm.
And so they became the first,
Right.
right, of the name that
Mhm.
they chose, which they, legally changed. But it was because she wanted to create something new for herself
That's right.
and for whoever would
Mm.
come with her, right? If she has
Right.
children, or, she just wanted something new, something fresh, something with peace around it,
That's right.
something
Mm.
that gave her joy and something she identified with.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You said something there. She wanted to create something new.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier, I was kind of that made me think of my point earlier. What happened to you is not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you do next. That's your identity. That's how you create legacy.
Yes.
Or if you are blessed with intelligence, with you're great with people, you're great with your words, you're great artistically, or whatever your gifts are, whatever your skills are, those are the building blocks of your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you allowing them to waste away? Are you using excuses of what's happened to you to not allow them to take fruit? That's legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing.
Mm.
Legacy is a choice
Definitely.
to build that legacy. For me, I truly understand legacy now because of how my dad modeled it before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful that he was such a great example and modeled to me how to treat people, how to talk and move in certain situations, what to do, what not to
Mm.
do, what to wear, what not to wear, how to behave,
Yeah.
how to walk proud and be unapologetic about who you are, to own it,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
own who you are, know
Mm-hmm.
who you are. And this is why my dad is so missed by not only me, but many, many people within my family and beyond. My dad is a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was extremely selfless all the time. So selfless, just helping people, paying himself last.
Mm.
But he would take his time
Mm-hmm.
to go play his music and do the things he enjoys, to work out. Make sure you take time for yourself
Yes.
as you're building legacy, because you can be out here, helping all these people and doing all these great things in the community and other people, but you do have to be able to bring it back and do the things that you love and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that balances out everything else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. We were all created with a purpose.
Mhm.
And to lose that because you've helped so many,
That's right.
or you've connected
Mm.
with this group or this relationship or that relationship, and not only romantically,
Listen.
but even friendships,
Mhm.
even family members,
Mhm.
um and you end up attaching yourself to whatever their thing
That's right.
is,
Ooh,
then you
Jesus.
lose your whole purpose. It's important not to lose that.
Mhm.
you know uh Remember who you are and
That's right.
remember for what you were created.
When you don't know who you are, you become a chameleon.
Yes.
That's bad.
Very.
You'll never, what you're going to do is you will lose more and more of yourself because you're trying to find yourself in other people.
Right. You will find,
Mm-hmm.
you could
Mm-hmm.
find yourself 25 years in a career that wasn't even meant for you.
Jesus. Mm-hmm.
All because
Mm-hmm.
you linked up with the wrong person and that became what you liked.
Or you decided to stay in a season that you were supposed to move forward
Or
from.
or you decided to stay there too long.
Too long.
Yeah.
Too long. Now you missed out on your next opportunity
Potentially.
or the next version of yourself.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can go back and grab it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I talked about earlier with that whole, am I too old? You know,
Right.
am I going to still have that same type of energy? Am I capable of still doing it at
Right.
whatever age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can circle back around,
That's right.
Lord willing.
That's right. Just know who you are. That's the
Know
bottom
who
line.
you
Know who you
are.
are. Don't be out here developing nicknames. People, your identity should be she's strong, she's nice, she's a Christian, she is spiritual, she is funny,
Mm-hmm.
she's intelligent, she's empathetic. Not, well, she's empathetic, but that one time, oh, you should have heard her talking about this one lady over there. Oh, now you got nicknames.
Right.
It should be she's kind, not she's sometimes kind because when somebody rubbed her the wrong way, now she changed and acts different.
Yes.
So you don't want that. So we are at the segment of our show called Firm and Free.
Okay.
So if you would tell me something that you are firm on and something that you would like to be free from.
I am firm on God is real.
That's right. Jesus.
I am wanting to be free
Mm-hmm.
from stagnation.
Jesus. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I am firm on the fact that I am a daughter of Christ and he knows my imperfections.
Mm.
He knows my flaws.
Mm-hmm.
So, although he has affirmed in my spirit my capacity, what my future could look like, and the things that I'm manifesting and could do, I'm going to be patient with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm firm on being more patient and giving myself more grace
Yes.
as I work
That's
through these
good.
processes. And I work on seeing myself how God sees me.
That's good.
I'm firm on that. I would like to be free from ever second guessing myself when I know I'm supposed to go a certain direction. I can feel it in my spirit, but I'm going to second guess it because, well, I don't know what's next. It's scary. I'm so comfortable here. Don't second guess it. Just do it.
Yep.
Just do it. When you feel it strong intuitively, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. All right. So we are going to go ahead and close the show. This was fun.
It was.
I'm so happy you came.
Yes.
So we are going to end this episode how we end every episode with our mantra. I am powerful beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I say, think, and do will reflect that. I know who I am. I own who I am. Kweli, thank you so much for coming on today. This was a lot of fun. I
Yes,
feel
it
like there were a
was.
lot of gems and nuggets in there.
Yes.
For everyone watching online and if you are listening, I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. And remember to stay firm on your foundation.